Okay, well, let's get going. Hello again, everyone. My name is Mike Denowden. I'm Business Development Director with ARC Business Solutions. And again, welcome to the ARC Elections webinar, Using Technology to Empower Election Workers. First of all, I want to welcome all the people on the line. I know everyone has extremely busy schedules, and we really, truly appreciate you taking the time to view our presentation and demo today. Many of you know, and some actually may not know, ARC has been in business for 20 years, and this actually marks our 21st anniversary and operations in business. And we've been exposed to several different verticals and clients and projects over the years, and we simply wanted to use today's presentation to share the knowledge of our training platform called ARC Elections. We feel it's good to share this knowledge with our clients, with our prospects, and our partners, anyone else as well who's got interest on this topic, because the concept of training really does transcend all verticals in the marketplace. So a few housekeeping items. When you logged on today, your phones were muted, and they're going to remain muted for the term. So if you do have questions for us, you'll see the side panel of the GoToWebinar. Simply type in the message panel your questions, and we will tackle those answers at the end. And today's presentation is approximately 1 hour, with the presentation and demo being 45 minutes. And then, as I said, we'll look at the question and answers after the presentation. So today's agenda, so we'll do introductions of the team that will be executing the presentation and demo here today, and we'll also do introductions of ARC Business Solutions. Second, we'll look at the training challenges that are affected by jurisdictions here today. Third, we'll explain a little bit more about what is the ARC Elections platform and the benefits of the platform. Next, we're going to have a very special guest joining us here today. The Director of Operations from Elections Saskatchewan, Bonnie Schenner, is joining us, and she can provide her insights of how she's utilized the technology and the training purposes that she has within Elections Saskatchewan. Next, after that, we'll do the demo of ARC Elections, the user interface, and the management dashboard, and we'll end off with the questions and answer period. So today's presenters, as I stated, my name is Mike Denowden. I'm Business Development Director of ARC Business Solutions. Very proud to say that I've been with ARC for almost 11 years now. I look after our Saskatchewan region and strategic accounts within Calgary. And joining us on the line is Klaus Ruba.
Hi there, my name is Klaus Ruba. I'm the Director of Mobile Solutions. I've been with ARC for about 12 years, and I'm responsible for all the architecture and technology behind this elections platform. So.
Hi, thanks, Klaus. And I'm Sahil Parekh. I'm the Content Specialist with ARC Business Solutions. I help with the product demos and webinars. I also help with the mobile product onboarding and training, as well as general support. And I'll be leading the demo portion of this webinar. Great to be here.
Thank you, gentlemen. So some of you may be familiar with ARC Business Solutions, and some may not. We've got a vast array of audience members here today, which is absolutely fantastic. So we just want to take a quick moment to explain who we are as a company. We are an information management consulting company, and we have offices in Edmonton, Alberta, and that's our head office. Offices in Calgary, Alberta, Regina, Saskatchewan, Toronto, Ontario, and we also have a U.S. office in Nevada. Very proud to have the U.S. connection there. We were established in 1998, and we're a privately based company with 3 equal owners, Graham Murray, Darwin Perrier, and Jacob Koshy. And Graham is the president and CEO of ARC Business Solutions. Currently, we employ over 100 consultants, and our consultants not only work in the offices that I've stated, but really all across North America. And one of the outlooks that ARC has really followed over the last 20 years is really focusing on trust, value, and innovation when it comes to dealing with our clients. And when we're dealing with either our clients or our new clients, we're really looking at how we can add value to whether it's the projects or technology that we're doing. And in doing so, it's really adding that innovation. And we really believe that it's because of looking at those two aspects that ARC Elections and that platform was born. And, as we deal with our clients, it's really developing that trust so we have that long-term relationship. So what do we do at ARC? Well, we have four main offerings or four main operating divisions that we follow. And first and foremost is our solution delivery division. So whether our clients are looking for application or technology delivery, we can do that with the people that we have on our staff, from project managers, business analysts, developers, testers, trainers, etc. And we can follow our methodologies that we have developed internally from a project management perspective, or our clients' methodologies as well. One of the other aspects within the solution delivery division is our management consulting area. A lot of clients have their strategic outlooks and goals, but sometimes they may not have those goals aligned with technology or their IT division. So we have a management consulting arm that can really align IT with the goals of the client. Second is our managed services division. We really cater to more small to mid-sized organizations with this division. So organizations that really view IT as possibly not full-time, and we can augment that with our managed services division. Our networks operations center is located in our Edmonton head office, so we can do remote monitoring and, more importantly, remote support. And we can also dispatch our qualified and certified technicians to our client sites. And in the end, we really provide end-to-end coverage and, more importantly, predictable cost in this area with our division. Our third division is our mobile solution division. This is the division that is headed up by Klaus. This division has experienced a lot of growth, and this is the division that has the ARC Election platform under it. We've developed a number of market-ready products that can be downloaded directly from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, but also we can do custom solutions from an enterprise class perspective. We can go inside any organization and understand the requirements and roll out an application that fits their needs, and it can be rolled out cross-platform with iOS, Windows, and Android. And the last operating division that we have is our information management division. We have partnerships with OpenText and very proud to have partnerships with Microsoft, so we can roll out technology projects with respect to Documentum, Captiva, and SharePoint. And much like our solution delivery area, we do have a management consulting arm there as well. So organizations that have a content management platform, but they're looking at ways to leverage those goals and perspectives with a content technology, we can bring our management consulting to align with those goals as well. So the training challenges with the election process. And this could also be challenges really when you look at other verticals as well. So the training of election workers, it can be costly, whether it's the payment of a trainer or the payment of accommodations or simply just paying for workers to attend. But simply put, this is a necessary investment to ensure that election workers have the knowledge for a general election or a by-election. Low retention. We've found over the years of dealing with election jurisdictions that in-class training only equates to really only 3 to maybe 5 hours spent with each worker. And it is well documented that approximately 33% of this knowledge is lost a day after the formal training. The lack of problem solving. Most of the election worker training focuses on policies and procedures, and that is a good thing. That's what they need to be trained on. However, a majority of the training that we found over the past is that they don't deal with scenario-based type training and dealing with issues of the day during the election, and really, more importantly, how to handle them. Geographic coverage. This not only applies to provincial and county jurisdictions, but also civic jurisdictions as well. In-class training needs to be executed in multiple areas to reach out your election workers. This is a needed thing, but it also can be very time-consuming and very costly. Communication. Well, effective communication is obviously a given during the training process, but what I'm referring to here is communication before and after the formal training, or maybe possibly the lack of communication. Because really, at the end of the day, the more communication that you have with your election workers, the more confident and comfortable they'll be in dealing with the election process. And lastly, was value delivered? This is the question that every trainer, and more importantly, every management within the jurisdiction want to know. So in turn, there may be alternate ways or supplement ways to really educating and conducting the training process. So what is the ARC election platform? Well, the ARC election platform is really two entities. One is the user interface that the election workers will use, and secondly is the management dashboard. The user interface comes in two aspects for your election workers. One is the mobile app. It can come in iOS, Windows, and Android, or it can come in desktops, and your users can transcend between both. And as you're onboarding thousands of different people for the election process, self-registration is also a feature within ARC Elections. It's a very simple and easy way for your election users to use this platform. And as we found over the years, there's anywhere between 8 to 12 roles that can be associated with an election platform. So with ARC Elections, we've identified, and they'll be trained on all of these roles. And as they're being trained, they're going to go through either scenario-based or questions and answers, but they need to consume the content. Well, that content can be in the form of text, images, videos, even links, URLs, and documents. Within the ARC Election platform, there is a document repository. And lastly, communication. This is obviously a very important part of the ARC Elections platform. So news feeds can be executed from management through the homepage, so they can see that on a daily basis. Or if there's immediate communication, management can throw push notifications, and that can either be roles or by groups, or even forums. Users can communicate with each other using the forums feature. The management dashboard, this is the most powerful aspect of ARC Elections. This is where the content and training is created and developed so the users can see it. And this training can be done either through the users or through the roles. But one of the other important aspects of the management dashboard is the analytics. Management needs to know, are they taking the training? How long is it taking the training? What are their marks within the training? These are all analytics that are important to them. So when they possibly go for in-class training or they go into the election, they know that their users have been trained with the platform. So the benefit of ARC Elections, well, there's several, but we've kind of narrowed it down to 4. The most important is knowledge retention. As we stated before, anywhere from 3 to 5 hours of formal training, sometimes that may not be enough. And so now you've actually got a supplementary way of training your users. And workers have that easy access to training. Because this is mobile-based, the training stays with them wherever they go, or even on their desktop. Communication, again, is very key with any type of training, whether it is the training itself, before and after. And so we're able to effectively communicate to all the election workers at any time. And the other important feature and benefit of ARC Elections is content can be changed at any time. Policies, procedures, most often are status quo, but if anything does change, that can be changed at any time by management using the management dashboard without the use of ARC. This is really solely at the discretion of management. So joining us today, as I said, is our special guest, Bonnie Schenner. She's the Director of Operations at Elections Saskatchewan, and she's been utilizing the ARC Elections platform. Bonnie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello, Mike, and you're certainly welcome, and hello, everyone.
So, Bonnie, I think we just wanted to view this as a conversation of, lessons learned of what you've done with the application. We've talked about some of the challenges here, but what is the most challenging thing about election worker training?
So, Mike, what is most challenging is the amount of specific process training that you need to teach in accordance with prescriptive legislative processes, and as well ensuring that your election workers have a working understanding of all the processes while trying to fit all of that training within a 3-hour time limit.
Big task.
Mm-hmm.
So really, I'm sure a lot of our audience members would like to know, so why did you select ARC in our elections platform?
Well, we certainly identified a need for online learning, and we issued an RFR. ARC was selected through our competitive tender process because the solution they offered met our needs.
And I think one of the things when it comes to training, it all comes down to content and what you want to train your workers on. How did you get the content loaded into the ARC Elections platform?
Well, our contract with ARC had ARC spending some time on site getting to know our business, and then this resulted in them incorporating some of our training material into the training platform for us. However, the best thing about this process now is our ability to add, modify, and delete content in real time and utilize different types of training, such as questions and answers or scenario-based training within the platform that's centered on the needs of Elections Saskatchewan.
Yeah, which is the true benefit of the platform itself. And when you look at how did you incorporate the class training with the online training?
Well, we'll certainly still be doing in-person classroom training, but we really do visualize this online training platform useful on 3 levels. The first level is pre-learning. So this allows us now to have the ability for all of our election workers to attend in-person training with some pre-learning already taken place. So for example, all of our workers could now attend the classroom training at the same level because they would have already taken an online session of voter eligibility and ID requirements prior to attending the in-person training. Also, the second level is it reinforces learning. It really does allow our workers to go back into the app at any time to review the processes and questions they may still have after completing in-person training. And the third level is we see a possibility for some alternative training. Now we may have the ability to train some workers with lesser prescriptive rules without attending in-person training, for example, our information officers or security officers.
So it's adding actually a little bit more insight of the training and maybe how you can obviously help with the election worker process. So I think our audience members also would like to know, so how did you get your election workers set up in the platform itself?
Sure. So this is our newest update with ARC. We recently amended the registration process so that it can be administered within our individual returning offices. As you can imagine, it would be an administrative challenge to register and manage thousands of election workers at head office. So we've tested this at a by-election level, and we are really excited to use this feature in our upcoming general election.
We're excited that you're going to be using it as well. Well, Bonnie, thank you so much today for your insight and your time today. Much appreciated, and look forward to working with you in the future.
My pleasure.
Okay, so I think we'll we'll shift over to Sahil. He's going to be showcasing the user interface and the dashboard with ARC Elections. Sahil, take it away.
Thanks, Mike. So I'll go ahead and switch over to that now. As you can see, this is just running in my browser. This is just Google Chrome. A good thing to mention is that ARC Elections does run as a mobile app on an iPhone or an Android phone, but it can also run through your browser like this. Now, for the sake of this demo, it is just framed within a phone to give you an idea of what it looks like when you use it on your mobile device. But if you were to back out of this frame, it would very much expand to the desktop window. But what you're seeing right now is the registration screen for ARC Elections, specifically for Elections Saskatchewan. They wanted to brand it specifically to their organization, which is why you can see the logo at the top, and they also gave it their own name, Take Part. And this is something you would also be able to do if you use the ARC Elections platform. But I'm going to go ahead and log in, and I'll show you what the ARC Elections platform looks like. So just bear with me as we're logging in here. So here we are. This is the home screen of ARC Elections, specifically for Elections Saskatchewan. You can see there are quite a few features at the top here and some things at the bottom. And so what I'll do is I'll quickly explain these features and how they can also be set up within our management dashboard, as Mike had mentioned before. And then I'll eventually move to the management dashboard, which is this second tab up here. So this is the home screen, as I mentioned before. You have a training section where you have the training modules that are sent out to the elections workers, and I'll go into that a little bit later. You have your account settings as well as a progress report that you can take a look at. And this is great for elections workers to kind of see how they're doing in terms of completing the training, whether that be pre-training, before workshops, during workshops, or even afterwards. We also have a document section, as Mike mentioned before, and this is a great place to drop any important documents that you want your elections workers to have on hand at all times. So, for example, here we have an official manual for the polls for Elections Saskatchewan. Really good thing to have on you at all times. And finally, we have this news feed here, and this ties in with the communication side of ARC Elections, because it very much is both a training and communications platform. Here you can see that some news items have actually been sent out to elections workers, and these news items can really be anything you want. They can be updates about upcoming elections, or even new training sessions and notifications on those sorts of things. Even something as simple as a message from the CEO of Elections Saskatchewan, province of Saskatchewan, is something you can send out to your elections workers. But the point is here is that you can go into our management dashboard and essentially create any of the content that you see in our platform. And that includes the news items that you just saw. So I'll go into the training section now, and you can see that there are some high-level categories of training here, such as elections worker jobs. We have a category on voter ID. We also have a category on voting scenarios. And really the way that training works in ARC Elections is it falls under two main types of training. The first type would be quizzes or questions, and that's pretty straightforward, where you have some sort of learning content for the elections workers to consume, and then they can answer a series of questions based on that content. And then we also have scenarios. And scenarios, the way I describe scenarios are, they're almost like real life situations, but in a training module form. And it's up to the elections worker to work their way through these scenarios by choosing the best possible decisions. And hopefully that helps them to not only reinforce what they're supposed to do during their jobs, but also help them retain that when they're actually doing their job during an election. So just to give you an idea of what these different types of training look like, here is a course on voter ID. Now this one is designed to inform the workers of what acceptable identification is for an election in Saskatchewan. And as I mentioned before, you can see there's some learning content at the beginning here. Now this learning content, as Mike mentioned before, it can be in the form of text as well as images. You have some links here. You can also upload documents too. I'll also show you an example of where we actually have a video as the learning content, and that's what you see here. So Elections Saskatchewan had a YouTube video on worker jobs for elections, and elections workers can easily play this in the app. I won't play this right now, but the idea is that the worker can consume this content, whatever it may be, and then go in and answer questions based on that content. So I'll go back into voter ID and say I've consumed this content. I know what types of ID is required. I'll go ahead and click Start at the bottom, and this will take me into the questions. Now, the questions can be set up however you want. They can be multiple choice. In this case, this is a multiple choice question. And you have the question at the top. You have a bunch of options in the middle here. In this case, this question is asking about one piece of identification and what it needs to suffice for an election. And I'm going to go ahead and choose options 1 and 2 because I believe a driver's license or a photo ID card would suffice. And once I click submit, it looks like I got that one correct, which is great. So I can then move on to the next question. Now this question is set up differently. As you can see, this is a true or false. And so I'm going to go ahead and choose true. And it looks like I got that one correct. If I got that one false, what's also great in ARC elections is you can offer tips at the end to better help them remember what the correct answer is, or possibly explain the incorrect answer they chose and why it is incorrect, which is really important. I'll go ahead and choose name and residential address for the types of information that are required. And so I finished the quiz. I finished these 3 questions here. I got them all correct. And because I got them all correct, I've completed that course. And now I can move on to the next course, which is voter eligibility. You can also have prerequisite courses. So for example, with this registration and declarations form course, you can't do this one until you finish voter eligibility. And that's a great way of segmenting courses and gating them, which is what we call it, which is progressing from some of the easier content to some of the more difficult quizzes and questions. We also have scenarios, and as I mentioned, these are almost like little situations that your elections workers would find themselves in. Maybe one would be around voting opportunities, and that's what this scenario is for. But I think an interesting one would be to understand ballots and the different types of ballots. And these are situations that you might run into while you're going through an election. So maybe an example would be a voter has come to your booth and they're asking you a question and you're not quite sure of what the answer to that question might be. Well, a great way to reinforce the correct path or the correct decisions to make in those sorts of situations would be through these scenarios. So here's an example. The scenario is at the top here, and this scenario reads as the following. You receive an application for a homebound vote, and what type of ballot do you send with the voting team if it's a general election? So again, throwing you right back into a situation you'd have to deal with. And unfortunately, I don't know off the top of my head what type of form is required. I'm going to choose Form C, and let's see if that's correct. Now, unfortunately, that's not. But if I keep going through these scenarios, eventually I'll remember that, hey, it's Form A that's required for these sorts of things. So those are scenarios and quizzes and questions. Now, as Bonnie mentioned as well, this is great for pre-training, during workshop training, and also post-training, because you might want to bring them up to speed on certain parts of elections training before, during, and after. And that's a great way to do it, is through these training modules. Now, I'll move on to the management dashboard, which is sort of the back end. It's the brains behind this whole app itself. And this is what it looks like. You have a bunch of different tools and features on the left-hand side here, and we give you complete access to this. You can go in and use this dashboard to create all of the content that you saw in ARC Elections. And it's relatively straightforward. We give you training on how to use the dashboard as well, and we try to make it as easy as possible for you to put your content in. because at the end of the day, you are the subject matter experts on elections and the elections process, not us. So what you see here is a series of different features. You have an analytics section, as Mike mentioned before, if you want to track how your users are doing, your workers are doing in terms of completing training, as well as their pass-fail ratios, and if they're completing things on time. You have access to all of that here. You can also drill down to individual user analytics if that's something you wanted to do. So for example, maybe a particular worker is really struggling with a course and you're able to identify that through the dashboard itself. That's a great opportunity to reach out to that worker and sort of figure out what's going on. For example, here, Klaus had gone through this, and you can see that he wasn't doing so great with the voter ID course because he was only getting a grade of 33%. In addition to analytics, you have the ability to manage all of the training modules that you just saw, and this would be done under Manage Materials. This is where you can create your quizzes and your questions as well as your scenarios. They're relatively straightforward to set up, where you add in all of the basic structure information. You can then add in your content, your learning content, whatever form that might be. And then you can create your questions or your scenarios by simply adding new exercises and choosing your answers. We've added some new features also recently, especially for Elections Saskatchewan. A big part of multiple choice is the ability to not only show different answers, but also to be able to show different images too, because sometimes with elections, you want to be able to show options in the forms of images, such as ballots or something like that. And so that's a new feature we added, where multiple choice images can actually be offered in training modules to your elections workers. Another feature we added on recently was the opportunity to add custom completion messages upon completion of the training modules. And this all goes back to the idea of not only reinforcement and retention, but also engagement with the elections workers. Because if you can offer some sort of message at the end of completing a course, whether it's something like a well done or a great effort, just something small like that can really make the difference in terms of engagement with your workers and acknowledging that you're satisfied with the fact that they're doing this training and going through it. When we're talking about acknowledging workers, another great feature we've added recently is the ability to create certificates and to hand those certificates out to your elections workers. Now, you create a certificate and you can also specify certain courses that you want your workers to complete in order to be awarded this particular certificate. So, for example, there's a congratulations certificate here, and this one will be awarded if you complete the voter ID, voter eligibility, and registration and declaration courses. And that's what you can see here. Again, trying to keep up that engagement in terms of elections training, but also acknowledging that what they're doing is great in terms of doing this training. And as Bonnie mentioned, the ability to handle the different administrative roles in the dashboard is really important. And another feature we added recently to handle that is multiple systems access. So if I go into my user, you can see this is my user up here, and I go down to system access. These are all of the different administrative roles that we've added so that the different administrative people can go about their roles and fulfill their actual responsibilities. So for example, you have account managers, you have access managers, you have certain admin roles specific to types of content in ARC elections, such as handling the actual learning materials as well as the communications, which would be the news feed. And this is great because you want to be able to delegate responsibilities to your administrative team as efficiently as possible. And having these multiple system access roles is a great way of doing that. So we've talked a little bit about learning management, user management. The last feature I'll show you is communication management, and this goes back to the news feed. Now, these are the news items that you saw in ARC Elections, if you recall here in this section. And I'll show you how quick it is to create a new news item. It's relatively straightforward, where you add a title at the top. You can add a date of when this is to be sent out, as well as when it expires. You can choose who to send this news item out to. And then you have a very simple editor here where you can throw in your content, whether that be text, images, links, photos, well, I said images, but what I meant is videos, documents, whatever that might be. You can throw it in here as a message and then send it out. And one thing that I didn't mention is that when these news items are sent out, they are sent out in real time, which means that your elections workers will receive them as soon as you've sent them out. And even better, as push notifications on their mobile devices. And so because ARC Elections is an app, you'll get that notification on your phone. You can tap that notification. It'll take you right into the ARC Elections app, and you can read that news item. Really, again, a great way of communicating to your workers efficiently and quickly. So that's the dashboard. I showed you some of the main features here. Once again, just before we go back to Mike and to questions, I'll stress that this is all about getting you into the dashboard and giving you access to these different features. Because once you master those features, you can quickly go back into the ARC Elections app, and everything you see here, from the news items to the training modules to even the documents that are uploaded, all of that can be controlled and created by you through our dashboard. So that's it for the dashboard and for the ARC Elections app. I will go ahead and switch back to the PowerPoint, and we'll continue from there. Mike, do you want to take it over?
Yes, thanks, Sahil. So I think what the biggest thing that we're trying to transcend with ARC Elections and the platform is that this is truly a learning and communication tool to assist in the training process. There's a lot of different policies and procedures, and this is a supplementary way to transcend that knowledge to your workers. And I also want to give another big thanks for Bonnie Schenner for joining us here today. Again, time is very valuable, and it was great to get her insight with how she's using the system as well.